Well, it's official now. The World Food Organization from the United Nations is telling everybody our wheat harvests across the planet are down. Let's take a look in which countries and how much, and why right now is the messaging coming out compared to a month ago when we knew the same information. Because that's the thing. Why is there's always a certain release of the news at a certain time for a certain, I should say, response from the public? Like this information I'm talking about today was known 2 months ago when they did crop tours, when the prices for fertilizer, when farmers talked about when they weren't going to plant. It's not just in America, it was in Australia, it was in Europe, it was in China. The exact same thing was happening. So this was already a known variable that was going to drive up the wheat prices. But now, just this week, they started to announce it globally in the newspapers. It's in Reuters, it's in AP, it's over in The Guardian, it's becoming everywhere. Wheat prices are going way up because wheat production is going way down. But why right now the release of the information? Starting with China, wheat production, you're looking over on the right side is where the most effects are. You can see where it says Korea, South Korea there, that whole area, Heilongjiang, and then you got Hubei up in there. There's major wheat producers. China's a gigantic producer. So we're gonna focus in on this area on the planet. The first thing is they're having these massive hail events again and again and again, along with massive rains, which is the reason that the wheat crop is becoming terrible. Can't get in and harvest it, but they've had this grapule. I mean, this is storm after storm after. It's almost like frozen rainstorms that are coming in versus rain or hail. So that's part of the downgrade of the Chinese wheat crop. But then off of Reuters, China harvest rains dent some wheat quality, may spur imports. Let's dive in on the article for you. Heavy rains hitting China's wheat belt and the hail and the dust storms, which I'll come to. But they're about, on that second line, 4.8 to 10 million. I've never seen a 4.8. 10 and plus is what I see. They're saying at the minimum 7% of all of Chinese productions either wiped out, unharvestable, or pushed back into the animal feed or feedstocks for ethanol, that sort of thing. You know, and then when you start diving around in different ag media, heavy rains hit China's wheat. You know, that's off of Ag Reports. Well, they do a lot of Europeans, so good one to look in there. And everybody's talking about this wheat harvest and rains that are responsible for this downgrade in the crop. And there's this overlay here of the super El Nino, or I just call it an El Nino that's building without the media hype. 10 million tons, and they're trying to see, I think they're trying to blend these two ideas to get your consciousness ready for the changes. So as we look here at previous wheat harvests from China in the 2020s, we're going to take a minimum of 10 million tons, and that's officially from China, which you know is way understated. So their average range of harvest from the last 20 years is between 97 million and 140 million metric tons. So we're going to take 10 million metric tons off of that. Now, here are the sandstorms that have been in Heilongjiang all the way down to Hubei. Remember, I reported on the ones out in Xinjiang. It seems to be some sort of atmospheric disturbance that's happening, you know, countrywide over there, and Northern Asia specifically. We also see a lot of these changing wind events, but again, with this super El Nino coming in, you would expect some sort of wind flow disruptions or changes. You know, we're looking out at the QBO near Singapore just changed west, and we're talking about an atmospheric column from 50 millibars to 30 millibars. I'm bringing that in tomorrow's video. The entire atmospheric column shifted a different direction. So if you're having these opposing air masses coming in, this could very well explain why something is happening of this magnitude across all of Asia, specifically North Asia. Now, just a word and a safety warning here. If you come upon a dust storm, generally you want to pull over. But again, not in China. You're just going to keep cruising and trucking through as day turns to night. I got places to go, people to meet, things to do. Yeah, safety first. But again, each his own if you think it's safe to drive through the swirling dust. 73 miles off the coast of Antarctica, and water so clean they're virtually untouched by human pollution, lives a tiny organism that researchers believe may be one of the most powerful anti-inflammatory nutrients ever discovered. It's called krill. If you've been taking fish oil for heart, joint, or memory support, there's something you need to know. Research shows fish oil is 50% less absorbable than krill oil, because fish oil's omega-3s are in triglyceride form, while krill oils are in phospholipid form, which is the same format your cell walls are made of. That means krill oil gets into your cells immediately. In head-to-head studies, krill oil outperformed fish oil at improving cholesterol, reducing inflammation, and easing joint pain. Native Path Antarctic krill oil is sourced from pristine Antarctic waters, contains the powerful antioxidant astaxanthin, and comes in a tiny soft gel. No fishy burps. For a special bundle offer plus free shipping, head to getkrill.com/adapt. That's GETKRILL.com/ADAPT. Try it risk-free with a 365-day money-back guarantee. Click on that link in the description box below. And having lived and worked in China many a year ago, I am going to absolutely unequivocally state that those numbers that are released from the government, from the CCP, about anything negative are always way understated. Way understated. Now, I had lived there and reading, when there was natural disasters that would happen, normally you would multiply by 10 to get the actual number of people affected or something in the news articles at that time. So if we're looking at crop losses, the 10 million tons in my estimation is incredibly low. I would put it somewhere between 20 to 30 million tons, because you can't tell me there's this much disruption off of 7% of a wheat crop in one country on the world, of all these countries that produce wheat. Yet this becomes the world's major news headline about wheat losses. And now we're going into massive catastrophic declines on world wheat production because of 7% off of China. See, something doesn't make sense. The numbers just don't add up unless you're hiding or actually not giving the truth about the numbers. If it's, say, 30 million tons, that makes sense that it's that big of a deal. And reading between the lines is our first official announcement. So you're going to watch the numbers creep up week after week, month after month of this one. I kid you not. The messaging is out. El Nino is going to affect something. Wheat harvest down, rice harvest down, everything more expensive. And here you go. They're finally warning us for the summer and the rest of the year. Comes off Ukrainian agro consultant feed over there on X. Global grain production to decline. Market balance remains stable as long as the carryover stocks were correctly reported. Yes, but if those, and we hear inklings of reports being wrong in carryover stocks, then this explains why a lot of people are running for cover at the moment. Global grain production marketing year projected to decline 2%. Now that's total grains, but we can dissect it further into the wheat. So 2026 world cereal production, cereal grains, you can look that term up yourself and see what that includes and who grows it and which parts of the world. Very diversified on that. Going to fall by about 2%. Okay, but last year it expanded by 4.8%. So that's really closer to a 7% turnaround. And again, that 7% was used in the China news article. I find it real interesting those numbers were matched like that. Is that the magic number to make everybody sort of stable at the moment before they slowly continue to decrease the numbers? Because then there's more headlines coming out, eye-popping, about Australia expects smallest wheat harvest in 3 years. And I've seen, 15 years, and the guys just out in West Australia are talking like the worst in some 50 years, just like in America. So you see it happening everywhere. And then the heat waves. Now they're starting to report on the European declines in crop productions due to, abnormal weather during the planting and the first maturation phase and emergence of everything eaten by humans and animals. Australia expecting a sharp decline in winter crop production, falling 21%. Let me continue on with more of these headlines. When I went over to Agri News and popped these off, more news. Area under spring wheat in Russia could fall to record lows. Morocco abolishes import duty on wheat from August 1st because they got to cover their buttocks, bring in more wheat so the citizens don't get angry. So they're cutting the taxes on wheat imports. Then Australia, we just covered down, depending on which region you're in or over there, as to the wheat production. Brazil needs to import record volumes of wheat because their wheat harvest was atrocious. Although they had record corn production, Iraqi farmers are actually pushing their production up 5 million tons. That's why they're super angry, because they're like, we're overproducing and you're trying to not pay us enough. So maybe they'll just withhold it from the market. I don't know. And then the EU itself reducing estimates for cereals. Yeah, with all this going on, country after country after country, they're putting it a 2% decline in just overall grain production. But then again, we need to split that out, because king corn is going to be in that as well. That's not the one that's really affected right now. It's more wheat, barley, sorghum, these type of crops, rice. So why the messaging now is the question. I mean, they're giving warning for, I guess, the world to get ready for this. You know, the world runs on the belly. The calorie is the most important energy unit to measure, not oil, barrels of oil, cubic meters of natural gas. It is calories, always has been since the beginning of time. If we don't have calories, we don't have a civilization. I would say one thing. We're coming up to the first set of crop tours here in about another week. So for the news to be caught so off guard on how atrocious the crops look in the fields, I think they're trying to front run it out a bit now, where they're going to have to stay ahead of crop tours across the world, where people with real eyeballs go out and look in the fields and say, whoa, nobody's talked about this for a month and we come to this. They're going to downgrade crop again across the planet. Once people really get out there and see what's happening, you know, you're telling me all these places, record low planting, drought over here, drought over there, like seeds, fertilizer, the farmers couldn't afford it. They couldn't put things in the ground. They can't get the fertilizer. Yields aren't going to be that good because we don't have enough fertilizer. And they're telling you it's just going to be a little smidgen down. Come on. You always know how it works. They first put out a number and then it slowly works its way down. Am I correct? This is the same playbook run for 1,000 years. Ancient Rome used the same thing in their media, I'm sure too. This time, this is a collapse of ancient Rome with Wi-Fi. Ag Economist Monthly Monitor bringing us this one here. They surveyed American farmers, Canadian farmers. What they found is they're going to switch crops. 25% of all of our farmers in North America, and this included some Mexican inputs as well, they are going to switch crops. And shifting by region, that's a real interesting with farm lease lands. So if a farmer can't plant X crop somewhere, they can lease lands in a different place. Now, these are bigger players, obviously. So the lease prices for ag land are definitely going to increase if you understand anything about that genre of farming. And what I find also right at that first gray bar, same acres, lower inputs, they're going to use lower fertilizer, which means lower yields. And this is where we're getting into the feedback loop, and they're going to plant fewer acres. So let's move over to rice for a perfect example of that. Thailand white rice prices gaining back up to the 2008 levels. And they knew there was rice bandits. They put military out in the rice fields to stop people from coming and harvesting overnight. That was a big thing in Thailand in 2008. The rice bandits came in and like these farmers grew an entire season's crop and they would roll up with trucks and harvest overnight in the middle of the dark, and farmer would go out and their entire field's gone. So they stationed military out there in the farming community. I could see something similar happening elsewhere. So American Farm Bureau also, share of farmers unable to afford all the required fertilizer. What's that number one up there? Rice. Yep. So if the rice is not going to be fully mature because the yields are way down because they don't have the fertilizer inputs, that swings us right back into this is a world problem. That's exactly why Thailand's rice prices are going up. They don't have the fertilizer either. So if you look down the list, wheat is sort of in the middle there at 70% are unable to afford. So do you think they've applied all the fertilizer for the wheat crop? I'm going to say no, only 30% did. Simple math on that one. And that's why all these, research institutions and big ag players and agricultural organizations are now coming out and telling you we didn't apply enough fertilizer this year. That's why all these things are going to be slow creep on the price going up, because if you don't have the fertilizer, you just don't have the yields. Now, Thailand's that canary in the coal mine, showing us specifically with rice that matches up specifically with North American growers. So we're going to watch North American rice go to lows. Even though they might have the same acres planted, the yield off of that's going to be incredibly low. So U.S. rice prices are probably going to increase too, which will take away supply off the world market. And everywhere you look, it's just the amount of food available this year is going to be low. And if we don't get this thing fixed out, we're going to be creeping way deep into, I'm already going to say that Southern Hemisphere planting season is going to be a wipeout as well, because the fertilizer hasn't been fixed from the Hormuz Strait. We're still in that, and it's intensifying. If we go through another year of planting in Northern Hemisphere, we can't get what we need to get those crops in the ground and feed those plants. There's no way we're gonna pull out of the carry stock so heavy this year that there's not going to be much left. But going to be what we grow is what we get. So this is already a distant early warning, and this has happened in history repeatedly, again and again and again. And I dive into this. I talked about the screwworm yesterday on Patreon, digging into what would be affected for the screwworm. It's not just the meat, I assure you. It's a lot more at play than just cattle being taken off the menu because of the screwworm, layers deep. So join me on subscribestar.com, patreon.com/adapt2030. Please grow some of your own food. You can help yourself cut some of those supermarket costs by actually growing your own fresh veg. And if you have extra, which you will, if you have a garden, nature overproduces, you can trade with your neighbors or whatnot. Give that as gifts. That people always remember the fresh veg that you bring, and they're like, oh, it's the freshest ever. I love it. It's a way to help community, family, and cut your costs at the same time. So please share this with friends and family. Speaking of that, click that subscribe button, hit the bell for the notification. And feel free to share this in your social media, clip up clips that you want to share. We need the solutions right now. So we need more conversations and eyeballs on the problem. Until next time, bye for now.